Good evening, everyone, and welcome to today's session of the Design Nuances Edu series. And this particular series is a very interesting one. It's a more academic series, and I'm going to share the the purpose of this right now. Yeah. So the objective of this particular series is to learn a nuance of a new topic specific to design, fashion, or architecture. You interact with an expert and absorb the knowledge they share, but you also get introduced to a new school and understand their purpose and the reason why they exist. All right. So today we have Pearl Academy delivering this talk, and the topic is Futuring the Present, Speculative Design as a Tool for Tomorrow. And to let us know more about this, we have Fibin Raj, who's the course leader of fashion design at Pearl Academy. Now, to give you, I'm not going to read this out, but in short, Fibin is a very popular fashion designer and fashion stylist. He's been across India, including Chennai and Bangalore, and he's been holding various academic positions at NIFT and Pearl Academy. He's got extensive work with photographers, and he's won awards, various awards, and he's choreographed fashion shows at NIFT graduation collections. So there's a lot he's done in this field. He's very passionate about fashion design and fashion education, and we are happy to have you on board, Fibin. Thanks for coming in today.
Thank you, Dion.
And in addition to Fibin, we have Shivangi, who would be talking and introducing us to Pearl Academy. She'd be showcasing some of the work that Pearl Academy is doing, or their students are doing, and how their students are changing India's social sphere, right? And influencing the social sphere in India. So for those of you who are looking at Pearl Academy as a college to consider, I'll paste these links in the chat box, and I'll also share this in the description of this webinar. And I'm going to stop here right now, stop my screen share right now, and I'm going to hand it over to Fibin. So Fibin, fantastic. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you, Dion. I'll share my screen and let me know if it is visible.
Sure. Yes. You can check now.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay. Hi, good evening, everyone. So today I'm going to talk about, I'm sure most of you have gone through so many lectures, and you've also gone through a lot of sites in understanding what's happening in future in terms of design. So I'm going to talk about a small portion in terms of how design process to be taken in future, and how do we look at what are the scenarios, what are the newer opportunities which designers can capture, not only just fashion, but also architects, even designers who come from different field, who could look at how these possibilities can be converted into the real life scenarios. So in future, you must have come across and learned about a little bit on design thinking, which has been the word in the past 2 decades. But design thinking is slowly moving in and taking shape into different aspects, and there's a lot of focus which is given on current problems. That is where design thinking takes a major stand and focus on how to solve these problems. But I'm going to talk about the future of it, the next step of design thinking, and which not many designers or in design field they're looking at, especially in fashion. But if you look at product or industrial design, they have already been practicing a term called speculative design thinking, which includes speculation and understanding of how design fiction, science could be involved into design, and how we look at what are the scenarios which are facing in the world. And it's all based on manifesting possibilities and with the word what if. So it's all revolving around the term what if, something which could happen in the future, a scenario which can happen in the future. How do we design, and what are the stages, and how do we group these ideas, and how designers can channelize all these design probes into a effective with the use of effective emerging tools. So technology, if you look at design thinking, was majorly focusing on the current problems or issues, or even the need which is rising in the current scenario of people, and what kind of need which is arising right now. But if you look at the possible, probable, preferable ideas which has to be evolved because of the climatic change, how design has to be fastened, and how design has to be moved further with critical thinking. We need to incorporate not just only the thought process of design thinking, but we also need to look at design fiction, where a lot of science fictions which are coming in, we can also take inspirations from there. Students and even designers can take ideas from there to even come up with a solution. So science fiction, art, design, and speculation is to manifest what's going to come in the future. So it talks about possibilities, it talks about scenarios, and it talks about different stages. The traditional method of design thinking was only define a problem, and the problem is already existing, and we could see it with our naked eye, or we could experience that problem. But when in speculative design, you need to actually manifest, you need to actually create a scenario. And that scenario could be something with the science data, which could be with the data which are existing in the world, or even through literature reviews, we could come up with the final definition. So there are 4 stages which was there in the past. One is discover, define, develop, and deliver, which is the 4 Ds. In design thinking, it was 5 stages, which includes the research, which is the initial part, and then it moves into prototyping, and then finally move into the implementation. But in design for the future with speculative design, we need to create a scenario. So that scenario could be how the world or how Earth is going to behave in the next 30 years or in the next 40 years. So first is about scaping, or we landscape a scenario. And in that scenario, how people are going to live, what are the possibilities and contexts. So this leads into a lot of research areas that gives anyone an idea of, okay, to look at other design papers, and also to come up with development ideas and systematic approach in terms of creating an ideation process. So when we may use ideation process, which like scamper the traditional method, we may also use the ideation process of heuristics. So there's one book which gives you an idea of how to derive ideations, but the ideation in the traditional method was basically setting up a problem statement. But here in which we have to look at a future cone, but there will be a lot of scenarios which we will be developing, and those scenarios could be moved into the possible future. And the possible future is what might happen in the future. So we are not sure whether the scenario could be taking place, or we are not sure that particular scenario can happen. So every scenario what we jot down to come up with a future idea, we need to group that into 4 different scenario scape, or 4 different directions or a vertical, which includes possible, which includes a preferred scenario, a futuristic scenario. We also look at a probable and a plausible. So in probable, it is also to talk about how likely is it to happen. So the scenario could happen, may happen, may not happen. But the climatic, with the natural disasters which are happening today, there could be another scenario which will be evolving. So we are not sure whether certain scenarios are the most probable or the most possible ones, but by grouping grouping, and with the timeline which we have, any designer could be able to pick up one of the scenario and then take it forward. So few examples which I'm discussing here today are based on the timelines, and everything is based on the timeline. So even if you have a possible or a plausible scenario, we are able to take up that particular possibility of a scenario only if we have the timeline to research and deploy, or to research and come up with a prototype. So we need to strategize and decide whether the scenario is something which is a possibility to happen, which could be taken forward and find out a solution and keep that record ready, which could also be a relationship which we are creating to have a reality check and a cultural change which is going to happen in the future. So there's certain websites. So today I was discussing with my colleague also about an interesting website which talks about Earth 2050. So there they have actually listed down a set of concepts, and I may also share that website here for you to understand a little more. So these concepts which are given in these websites, are you able to see the website which I'm sharing?
Yes,
Shivani?
yes, it's visible.
Yeah. So here, if you look at this particular website, they've actually given a series of concepts, predictions, which are happening in the 2020, 2040, 2050. So one could go into these aspects and also see what specific scenario or what specific change is going to happen in your locality, and how do you come up with a design solution if some scenario of sort which is mentioned here could happen, and if that particular scenario is something which is going to happen in this year mentioned year, then we could take up similar things from here, or we could also mind map various other scenarios and then work around with the data, with the research papers, with the kind of technology involvements and the newer technologies which are coming into play. So this website is quite interesting. This is like a starting stage where city farms, which they are mentioning, which will be by 2030, where a lot of places, a lot of international cities have already started having these farm culture into the building itself. So by 2030, we may see more of this. So by 2040, what is going to happen is also predicted and put in terms of these scenarios. But it's up to us which one is going to be the possible scenario for our locality, which one is going to be the most plausible one, which one is going to be the most could happen or may happen, or what is most likely to happen can be categorized. Once you group them, then we could start analyzing this is the most feasible one which we could work out with and come up with a solution, so that that particular solved issue could be implemented into the design. Yeah, so few examples based on these research some of the designers have worked upon are as exemplars I'm sharing here. So there's a prediction which is given in the past, in the future, where they say that almost 40% or 70% of food has to be increased. So there's one designer, his name is Maiden Levy. What he has done is he tried to bring in the 3D printing into an advanced level of 4D printing, and try to bring in artificial fruits because of the data which says almost of 70% more food in the next 40 years to feed the world. And that is because of the overpopulation crisis. So that's one of the scenario where a designer could think of, or which is being predicted. And this designer has thought of an idea of bringing in artificial fruits where we inject vitamin-rich alternative familiar fruit flavors into the fruit, and that could be something which could be consumed. So similarly, in fashion, if you look at, designers have already looked at 3D printing to the more of a 4D printing envisioning future materials. And future is a narrative where designers are looking at, okay, what happens if the world, and if we are planning to live underwater? And in that scenario, what if we come up with a material as water repellent and a silicon material as outfits, and how that could be translated? So it's all the scenario which is allowing the designer to look at various other aspects of design, and also to incorporate not just only the glam side, and also not just only the silhouettes in fashion, but also looking at lighter sensitive textiles and research on more textile related materials and incorporate that into fashion. So similarly, there was this designer. This was one of her graduation project, which was in, her name is Pauline. What she has done is she's brought in solar panels onto clothing, but that has slowly moved on. And in the last 2 years, we could actually see suits where designers are coming up with suits where you can actually charge your phones by using the pocket component, and the pocket will have these solar panels attached, and that generates some energy. And in Japan, if you look at, they're actually trying to convert footsteps into energy and try to generate that energy to lit street lamps. So these are scenario based thought process, giving any design wing, any designer, any design organization to come up with innovative ideas. So drones we had already seen. We had seen robots which are coming in, also solving a lot of issues and a lot of calamity based issues which we are getting to see. And there is bio couture, which is also designers looking at where they can grow through clothing, where some of the clothings which are becoming waste in the market. So some of our students have also worked with these projects where they're converting katrans, where they're converting leftovers of yarns, and how to reduce the wastage and waste management and come up with something in the future. So that is also a scenario where we are going to load with a lot of waste. How are we going to live in a situation like that? And designers are also looking at crystallizing clothing by leaving the garment into the ocean, where salt crystals naturally get accumulated into the clothing, and that could be more crystallized and could be worn as an avant-garde silhouette. So the similar kinds of experimentations and bio fashions that are happening in the current scenario, and those are all speculated thought process which is being taken forward, and how these climate and any impact which is happening in the world can be resolved in the future with the timeline. And setting up a timeline and working within that timeline is something which designers normally look into. We also have, in the past, we also saw VR fashions, VR fashion and using AR, and a lot of fashion shows have got into the mainstream of just not using models, but also looking at generating model through Mid-Journey and other AI-led machines and engines. So that could also be a new methodology of interacting and creating fashion. And with this, what's happening is the reduction in terms of cost cutting as well as wastage of creating. A lot of samples are cutting down. Industry is looking at how the timeline, how the time could be reduced in terms of makeup, or how to time in terms of choreographing something, how a theme related shows can also be brought into metaverse. Now, AR and the artificial intelligence by 2050 is slowly moving into artificial emotion, where we also start going to see how emotions can also be brought into design. So by emotional impact, we could also see how colors could change, and how mood changes according to that, how fabrics colors could be changed, where slowly it is being implemented in certain brands, but it is going to be seen into a bigger way in the next 10 years or 30 years from now. Fashion industry, since I come from the background of fashion, in the last 2 decades where I've been teaching, where students have mostly looked at how to translate an idea through pen and paper. But now that is gone, and people are looking at how to bring technology into visualizing with prompts, and that is a base. So that no designer will go wrong, and artificial intelligence is give you a direction. But here, designer brain has to be worked upon, and the idea of choosing the best possible or the probable or the plausible future comes from the study and the research which we do. So that may not be generated, or that may not be shortlisted by the AI, but that's where the designer has to be more focused in understanding and taking up, okay, if this is how the world is moving, and if these are the scenarios which are going to happen, how are we going to use these, and what if such scenarios, and why not create these outfits or these designs into the future. So closing of this session, I also want to add there a lot of designers are combining products. Products and industrial designers have actually tried combining two ideas and then creating products. So similarly, in fashion also, we get to see designers are taking a new shape in the future and envisioning the looks. So speculation is manifesting, but at the same time, through speculation, we actually need to look at the future cone, and it's with the individuals to identify and segregate these 4 scenarios, and the 4 scenarios, within the 4 scenarios, the most probable or the most possible has to be taken forward, so that the by the time we reach that particular year, we will be able to implement that into the market. So beyond speculation, we always look at what has happened in the past. We also need to look at what is current and present, but it is the future to look at how things are going to change in future before we start designing something, and speculative design needs to be incorporated in any design process. Okay. Yeah, so I think Dion, you will be sharing these slides to.
Sure. We'll definitely be sharing the slides. Right, but excellent, Fibin. I mean, this really opened up a whole new dimension on how on speculative design, because how do you predict for the future? How do you plan for that, right? Because so for example, Facebook has invested billions of dollars on the metaverse, and
Yes.
it's gone nowhere, right, at this
No,
stage.
it will come. It will come.
Yeah.
It will slowly take place. So the site which I was talking about, Earth 2050, if you look at the scenarios which they have mentioned, is actually going to take place.
Okay.
Which we actually saw slowly. So recently, Mango has made an outfit where the model was brought in with an interesting glass and they have tried to bring in interesting glass pregnant structure onto the runway, and then it was actually considered not accepted by many. But what they're predicting is by 2050, we also get to see surrogacy is going to take place, where robots are going to get into the main stage of taking surrogacy. So the emotions are going to be fed into the robots, so that the kid who is growing into that cubicle can also take up that emotions. So it's going to be more future-led, tech-led world, where sci-fi movies, like how you saw design thinking was only about current scenarios. So it is only solving an issue, what is happening today. But when you look at double diamond, where we set a scenario and we say that, there is no sky or there is no earth, but everybody is going to live in water, then we need to have water repellent fabric, and that research has to be incorporated. And only when you set a scenario is when the designer or a design aspirational person will start researching and finding out what are the new materials which could be incorporated. Yeah.
All right. Right. So we'll come back to this discussion, Fibin,
Okay.
because it's a very interesting one. But in the meantime, I would like to call upon Shivangi
Hi.
to give us a little scenario about what's happening at Pearl Academy. Yeah.
Sure. I will talk of Pearl, the courses that we offer, and yeah, most importantly, how we are talking about creating an impact in the society. Is this visible? My screen is visible.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
So yeah, talking of Pearl, one of the oldest design college in India. We started in 1993 and we have a legacy of 31 years, having campuses, 5 campuses across India. We are talking of being recognized under Rajiv Gandhi National Institute of Youth Development, and we'll be offering regular BDES and BDES and master's degree effective 2024 intake onwards. So one question which we generally ask, who exactly is a creative professional? While we understand, the answer is, can this be interactive? Or can I go ahead with this?
So this is live streamed on YouTube. So
Okay. Let's
if there are questions coming in, we'll put them across. So, yeah.
Sure. So when we're talking about who, according to you, is a creative professional, we generally say a creative professional is someone who is right-brained, imaginative, innovative, dreamer, an intuitive person with someone with a high emotional quotient. We'd also like to add in today's scenario, these things are also possible. Well, we say these qualities are also there in a design professional. A combination of both left and right brained. When we're talking about right brain being more creative, left being more logical, analytical, yes, today's designers are more logical and analytical. They're problem solvers, they're enterprising, risk takers, a team player, yes. They think out of the box, think inside the box, and last but not the least, we are talking about business acumen. All the designers today need to have this specific skill of having business acumen. So when we're talking about Pearl Academy, we're talking about creating these, imbibing all these qualities, in addition to this, giving you business acumen, good communication skills, and most importantly, our values where we really want you to be, where we really want you to create impact in the society. I would like to now share that a few of our alumni, right, who are there in this industry.
Is this supposed to play some sound?
So voice is not audible?
Yeah, you'll have to share sound.
Okay, let me just do that again.
Yeah. Not there. On the Zoom panel, you'll have to share sound.
Yeah. I'm just.
Yeah. Maybe if you can stop your screen share for now. Yeah.
Yes, I'll stop my screen share. Wait.
And now if you click on screen share again.
Yeah, with music. Yeah.
Yeah.
Share sound. Yes.
That's really interesting.
So I'll play this again.
Sure.
Is my screen audible?
Your screen is, you can.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, you can put on full screen.
So these are our popular perlites. So 31 years of not only creating design professionals, but also creating impact in the society. Yeah, when we're talking about creating impact, I have a small video again to show here. This is about a small project. You know, your idea could be small or big, but it is about how we create impact in the society. And this was a small idea which really helped about 500 women inmates of Tihar jail. Tihar jail is a jail in Delhi. So I'm sharing this video again. I'm sure this is what we really believe in. This is what our perlites do. This is what our students are trained to think and do.
कोई भी इंसान क्राइम अपनी मर्जी से नहीं करता है। फीमेल की एक कमज़ोरी होती है कि वो अपने घर से अटैच्ड होती है, और जिस दिन फीमेल जेल के अंदर आती है तो उसको बहुत अंडर डिप्रेशन होती है। उसको ये लगता है कि अब मुझे समाज में कैसे मुंह दिखाऊंगी जाके, मुझे ना मेरी फैमिली एक्सेप्ट करेगी, ना मुझे मेरा समाज एक्सेप्ट करेगा, तो मेरा तो मर जाना ही ठीक है।
I have heard a praise that can break young and old hearts, where all hopes can be lost. You count the days, but you still see a long journey to go.
The project started in 2017 with an idea that they will learn something in the jail and it will help them in their rehabilitation.
भटके हुए स्टूडेंट्स हैं, कुछ बहुत परेशान होते हैं, वो यहाँ आकर बहुत रिलीफ फील करते हैं, और जब काम करते हैं तो वो सब कुछ भूल जाते हैं। इनमेट्स का अंदर भी बहुत कॉन्फ्लिक्ट्स चलते हैं। वो जब यहाँ आ जाते हैं या वो जो कुछ चीज़ सीखना चाहते हैं उसको सीखते हैं तो उनका बहुत रिलीफ उनको मिलता है। और मैंने देखा है कि बहुत लोगों की लाइफ भी इससे चेंज हुई है, बहुत चेंज हुई है।
बहुत सारे स्टूडेंट थे जो हमारे आने से पहले ही वहीं पर खड़े रहते थे, बोले आप गेट खोलोगे तभी मतलब हम लोग यही वेट करते हैं कि कब आप गेट खोलो और कब हम अंदर जाएं।
मैंने यहाँ पर पर्दे पे डिज़ाइन किया, ड्रेसेस बनाई है और टेबल कवर वगैरह ये सारी चीज़ें बनाई।
वो अपने आप में इतने सक्षम हो कि जब वो यहाँ से जाए तो वो किसी के भी ऊपर डिपेंडेंट ना हो। तो जेल का मतलब एक अंधेरा या अंधकार नहीं है। आजकल जेल में भी बहुत सारी चीज़ें इंसान को रिफॉर्म करने के लिए की जा रही है।
मैं चाहती हूँ कि मैं अपना कोई डिज़ाइनर स्टोर या फिर बुटीक खोलूँ।
जितना कुछ यहाँ सीखा है ना, आगे सिखाने की इच्छा जरूर है कि आने वाला जो भी पीढ़ी हो या जो भी कल्चर हमारा है, जो हम यहाँ सीख रहे हैं या देख रहे हैं, वो हम आगे सिखा सकें, उस चीज़ को कहीं दबने ना दें।
When they are making a new dress and someone looks at them and buys it, you're telling them you're worth something.
So guys, that is the kind of work. This was a small idea, and we set a fashion lab at Tihar jail for women inmates and trained them. So this is what we call as creative professionals. Be it be students or faculty, this is what they do. The impact that your idea can really create. I would also like to share another work of our students. You know, our students and faculty use AI to create these portraits. The first two portraits of Mahatma Gandhi are done through AI. And then along with Padma Shri award-winning artisans and Italian artisans, This work was recreated on Indian textile. This is the theme. And Indian textiles, this was to basically bring about Mahatma Gandhi's ideals, thoughts, and values. This exhibition was down on 2nd of October. Now it's off. But this is how we paid a tribute to Mahatma Gandhi. And also, this is small work. There was an immersion experience. There were students from Whitecliff University, New Zealand, who visited Delhi, India, and they all visited the Gujarat's Kutch region, where, along with the artisans, they created a small fashion show at the New Delhi New Zealand Embassy, which was appreciated by all. This collection was then presented as Nomadish and praised by all. The name of the collection was Nomadish. So this is some of the work of our Pearl students. This is one of the most important thing I'd like to, when I say about, creating a creative impact. Just give me a moment, I'm sorry. This is a work of one of our students called Yamini Sharma. She envisioned a groundbreaking library project for Red Cross Society's visually impaired children in Hisar. If you look at this, this is a very innovative design which features a 3D board map and a tactile payment flooring for easy navigation, magnetic and braille writing on boards for enhanced learning, and custom-made activity boards that bridge the gap between English and braille. Moving forward, I'd like to discuss the second project, which is the stretcher. This is a product design students' work where, when we look at our hospitals and how patients are transferred from one stretcher to the other, they actually are picked up using the bed sheet. So, here this student actually designed this stretcher where you could, where it will rise and slightly slant so that the patient can be moved from one stretcher to the another very, very easily. The third project, if you see Jal Saathi, top right, this tackles the challenge of water transportation heads on. Basically, in the rural areas where females still carry those matkas on their head, this is an effort where they could, pull these water bottles, which can hold a lot of water. It is low cost solution that's both efficient and user friendly. So this is the kind of work our students have been doing. I'd like to discuss further. I'm sure all of us have heard about Thatera, which is one of the dying arts of India. This is basically in Jandiala village of Amritsar that this art is there and it was dying, and UNESCO actually recognizes as one of the most important arts of India, right? So one of our students secured a 1 crore investment because she was reviving this art called Pital. She's reviving this utensils which were used by our ancestors, by our grandmothers, so she's trying to do that. And then there is this Delhi designer. She started her own, Ashita Singhal, who started her own brand called Paivan in 2018. This is a brand where she's worked on the katran part, which is the leftover of the of the material of the clothing that is required for stitching and all. The tailors have a lot. So she actually turned the textile waste into a 1 crore turnover fashion brand, which saved millions of liters of water. So when we say about creating creative impact, I personally feel a designer can create a lot of impact in the society. So that was Pearl for you. Before I end, I'd like to talk about the dates of examinations of Pearl. 17th to 19th of January, which is our first cycle. This will be completely online. And that's about from my side. Thank you so much, sir.
Thanks a lot for that, Shivani. Excellent. I mean, it's interesting to see on one hand, we are talking about the future and how to plan scenarios for the future. And on the other hand, we're looking at, real problems faced by real people in various scenarios, right? Whether it's a jail or a hospital, and all of these things. So it's very, very interesting to see how design can be applied at various levels, right? Interesting. So so coming back to Fibin, the scenario builder you showed, the two squares. Could you please bring that up again?
Which one, the website?
The scenario builder, right? Where you have the two squares. You can show me that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
Yes,
you're
the
able
double
to
diamond. Yeah. In
just a sec. Sorry. Yeah.
yeah.
So here it's just the same double diamond what we use for design thinking, but in design thinking we look at a double diamond. We start with a issue, or we start researching to find out a problem or an issue or a need. But here we have to predict. We have to look at what are the how the world is going to change, or you can even directly say, okay, the world is, or the earth is going to have only this kind of a only day or only night. If that kind of a scenario happens, what are the changes? What are the other areas which we need to look at? So the research point should start with the scenario spacing or the scenario building. And then you come up with a definition in terms of how we define the same define as we see in design thinking. And then you start off with the ideation, but that is more of an artifact. But these scenarios are future led scenarios. So we are not sure whether they may happen. It could happen, it may take place, but we have to segregate into these 4 categories, and then we need to choose based on our timeline. So if we have 10 years of research time, then we could take up something which are the likely to happen, but something which might happen and could happen should be taken into consideration as the first set of possibilities to work on with. I'm not able to hear.
Yeah, in terms of actually predicting the scenarios, you can predict it to a certain extent, but you know how the world changes beyond that. Now, for example, I'm coming back to the metaverse, because the challenge with the metaverse is that there's a whole lot of hardware that needs to upgrade, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Before it comes into play. Whereas if you look at AI has used the existing hardware, right, to make the changes. So that's I think that's really the that's why AI has taken over so much faster than the metaverse, right?
Yeah, and that's why I said the AI is moving into AE, and it's going to become the AI plus artificial emotion. So right now we are only talking about artificial intelligence and coming up with the 2-dimensional version of it. But with the emotion, it's going to take up human emotion into the artificial.
That's a whole new scenario. Right. So interesting. I mean, in terms of this funnel, okay, if we can go to 1 or 2 slides later. Yes, this one. That's the slide, right?
Yeah.
Now, in this slide, you said there's creative exploration, extrapolation, and consequence evaluation, right? The prototype and the deployment.
Yeah.
So we start off with so effectively we're really using the design thinking as it is, right?
Yeah, we are using the design thinking as it is, but the problem or the issue is going to be the scenario. So what are the problems or the issues which the scenario is going to take place? So that is what we need to look at rather than the current issue. Like how Shivani was talking about the current scenario and what are the issues which are we facing in terms of the waste management, in terms of Katrans, and how designers are looking at how to manage these and give to the society. Now we are looking at a stage where all these are going to be loaded. So now if we are going to live only in that particular, so there's one artist in UK actually started looking at outfits which are going to be worn in a way where 7 to 8 pieces are going to be layered, and those 8 to 7 layered onto one on top of the other.
Okay.
So that could only be for a human who's be able to carry it and walk around, right? So we also start looking at a scenario where the human is going to be taking care of that particular silhouette, or the human body has to be transformed. And we also see designers like Rickoven, where his clientele has actually started looking at body extensions. So the entire human body is also getting transformed. So by 2030, we may not see human in similar format. We will get to see human in different forms. So where designers also need to start looking at how each body types also need to be covered with clothing. So that could also be an issue. So if it is there's no water, then what is the other artificial thing which we have to incorporate? Like how the designer who had worked with a food, synthetic food. So if we are not going to have food and 70% of production of food with no water, I think it's going to be an issue. So we'll also have to look at how these food ingredients can be injected into 4D printed foods, and that has to be consumed so that people survive.
In terms, actually, so this is, when you talk about this, it's also akin to innovation a lot, right? Because
yes.
Then so it's a seed for innovation.
Yes, but current innovations are based on current issues, and the innovations which are happening or innovations can also making a lot of landfill and wastage. But when you fix up a scenario and we group them into the possible, plausible, the innovations becomes more marginalized and systematic.
All right. So in a sense, it's giving a structure to innovation.
Yes.
Right?
Yes,
or the process of innovation and giving, and that could also, go in the wrong direction, right? Because if we are focusing, if we think that this is plausible and work in a certain direction, and then
for example,
possible that may not be the right scenario.
It may not be the right scenario, but that scenario could be studied or understood through the science fiction. So anyways, there is a set of research which is happening. So those science fiction should also be researched by these designers. So it is going to be a transdisciplinary approach rather than just learning. Fashion designers are not going to just only make clothes, or product designers are not only just going to look at that particular aspect of a design. They also need to get into. So it's going to be, earlier it was more interdisciplinary, but it's only choosing another stream and then studying. But now it has to be a trans. It has to be a 360, like how you see here as a semicircle. It should be a 360 where every other individual and the design sector need to be involved, without which it's not going to be easy.
Absolutely.
And every designer need to know a little bit of all of this.
All right. So now in this case, how would you advise the next set of designers coming in, right? The design aspirants. So what would be your advice to them to plan for the future at this stage?
To plan for the future at this stage.
Yeah, because they're going to go into design school, and what they're going to learn primarily is also a lot to do with the existing design and the existing scenarios, right? But how do they work? Because I'm not sure how many people are really focusing on this, right?
I think they need to, I don't know how many of them are focusing. Yes, true. But I think what happens with the current designers, we are looking at a particular product or anything which is being designed and executed or implemented into the world right now, and how to modify that. I think we need to stop looking at that, because enough of products has been designed and produced. We need to start using those. But I personally tell my students, do not stop dreaming. You start dreaming, and from your dream, what is that you decided? Yesterday, I saw a reel and I was started thinking about it. There was a reel where a man was standing next to a Xerox machine, and he has a shirt which is kept on the Xerox machine, and some sound is being coming. And the next scene of the reel is the Xerox machine giving a shots. So so your inspiration can come from that particular reel also, where dream big and see, okay, can I produce outfits through machines? So if I'm thinking of producing outfits through machine, in which scenario of the world or in which year, upcoming year, where I can implement this idea where that particular consumer is going to accept it. It is not going to be accepted right now, and we don't have the machinery to produce that. Where designers are also looking at, okay, um, let's send patterns to the outside world, and let's people start making garments at home, like how IKEA used to do for products. Now fashion designers are also looking at how people can work around with components at home, and the same sleeve can be used as a pocket for tomorrow, and the outfit gets translated. So that kind of a design idea and a design engine or a zero waste thought process are also being worked upon by many designers. So that's current. But don't look at the past and make a beautiful garment, or don't look at a past product and try to revamp or reinvent from there, but rather dream something new, a dream something which is not possible kind of a scenario, and see how it can be made possible. I think that's where innovation plays a major role, and I think that's what current generation need to be pushed upon. I don't think anybody wants to sit on to machine and then start stitching. They want to switch a machine or a switch on, and then they need the product. So like the reel which I was talking about, I was fascinated. I was wondering if we have a machine like that where we keep the shirt and then the machine is on and you're getting a Xerox copy of it in a shorts format, why not?
Yeah, absolutely. Why not? All right. The next question is for Shivani. It's maybe for Fibin as well. This is a question from Netra Chandrasekhar, who's saying, I'm very interested in fashion design course. Okay. Could you please elaborate on the majors and minors of this course? Yeah.
Majors and minors.
Minors that you'll
want to talk about it, or?
So I think so you should go ahead with it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so as I mentioned, the minors are changing for fashion design. The minors are becoming more transdisciplinary. You will not only learn fashion design and cloth making, you will also learn textile, you will also learn product design, you will also learn communication design, you will also learn technology, and we have implemented Cloth 3D and translating, cutting down sample making in the industry so that the wastage can be cut down. So it's not just making clothes, and it's not an artist we are looking at. So the structure and the curriculum has gone advanced, and we are looking at a fashion design student who will be able to bring up any thought process, any idea, and solve a solution in the future. And that particular design can also be where a student, one of our students who's working with IBM is actually working with the interface. And most of our fashion designers are also getting into IT companies, and they are also looking in for design students from fashion, because the fashion has the aesthetics which can be brought into the to all the interface which they are looking at, color combinations, what's trending in terms of apps, and what kind of a solution can be brought in terms of more easier way of looking at what an attractive color can be brought into the interface. And I think the engineers can create the application part, and the fashion and the stylist is where plays a major role in looking at how to make it look beautiful. That is also a new way where interdisciplinary learning of fashion design is helping students to get into different streams. I think we have a lot of clothes. We need to see how these clothes have to be worn. And we need to see whatever has been produced into the world, instead of putting it into the landfill, how we can tweak that and make it into newer product rather than making newer clothes into the industry. And I think that's what all our students are looking at. They're looking at international competitions where students try to use old and come up with something new out of it, rather than recreating and reinventing newer stuff and again getting into landfill. Too much of wastage, and we are leading into spoiling the environment, and we are the second largest polluters.
That's true. That's true. That's the fashion industry. But amazing. I mean, so the diversity that is there is tremendous, because you mentioned Glow
Yes,
Design,
Glow.
which is also completely a software company supporting the fashion industry.
Yes, yes. So Chloe is actually Chloe actually started off with translating an illustration into a garment, but Chloe has now moved on to advanced level where they are able to make the model walk around. They are able to bring in different textures, different types of materials. We for our last portfolio, we also tried different applications through Chloe and tried to bring in different body types. So we also looked at inclusivity and brought in a lot of newer models who are facing issues in the current scenario and brought that into Chloe. So the Chloe company who walked in was also excited about the outcomes which the student have made because they never tried inclusivity and we actually explored inclusivity in Chloe.
All right.
And it cut down a lot of samples.
All right. Shivani, if you can...
Sorry, I just want to add one statement.
Go
and
on.
that is only because of pandemic. And that is because of pandemic, which had made use and strongly going in the industry. Till then, everything was sample made and physically created as samples. But pandemic and a situation, that's what a scenario plays a major role. So that particular scenario had actually forced to incorporate a technology. And now without Chloe, there is no job.
Okay. That's amazing. That's amazing. So the impact is very, very strong. Yeah. All right. Shivani, if you can, we understand. So today's discussion was while it's it was a lot to do with fashion, but I think fashion was only one of the examples that we spoke about, but it goes really beyond that. Could you, there's a build up on Netra's question. Could you also kind of showcase the other options that people have other than fashion at Pearl Academy?
Pearl Academy. So when we're talking about Pearl Academy, we have courses other than fashion. In fashion itself, we have two other specializations, which is fashion communication, textile design. Going forward with communication design, we have 4 specializations. In communication design, we have UI, UX, we have animation, we have game design. Then we have product design, which we are offering from Bangalore, we are offering from Delhi and Mumbai, and interior and architecture design. This is at undergrad level. Plus, we have management courses also. So we have BBA in fashion and lifestyle business management, and even BBA in global luxury brand management. This year, we have also launched our BBA General, and same specialization holds true for our management course, master's courses also. So other than fashion, we are also specializing in communication design. Our students of communication design also doing very, very well with the kind of technology, again, that we've added to our entire course. The entire course itself is designed such that about 30% of the course consists of technology-based learnings. So yes, other than fashion, so communication design, product design, interior and architecture design, along with management courses.
And we're also tying up with Tech Mahindra and starting up a lab.
Yes, for product design. So one leg is also already started in Delhi. So for product design for advanced solutions with respect to machinery, we've also done that.
All right, thank you so much for that. And so that, I think, brings us to the end of this session. Thank you to Fibin and thank you to Shivani for having such an amazing session. Fibin, I think your insights in this direction of speculative design is absolutely new for me.
Okay.
And I'm sure it's absolutely new for a lot of other people here. So fantastic. It was amazing to listen to that and get your perspective on that. And Shivani, thank you as well for making this happen.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure. Yeah.
All right. If y'all can just